Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about should zoos that encourage interactions be supported? A few weeks ago, when I was on my vacation, my family and I went to a place similar to a zoo. The sole difference between the system of the place and that of a zoo is that tourists are encouraged to feed animals with vegetables provided by the organization. Everything was going fine until my mom and I decided to go feed a sheep that's slightly unpopular compared to the other animals. Once we initiated the feeding, it is proved that the sheep is hungry as the sheep swallowed all the vegetables in the basket rapidly. After the sheep had finished all the food, it continued to chew on the basket. Unfortunately, with its prominent strength, the sheep disconnected the handle of the basket with the basket itself and swallowed the handle. Terrified to witness the scene, my mom and I were incapable of removing the plastic handle from the sheep's reachable range. Due to the absence of staff members at the site, my mom and I notified a cleaner concerning the accident. Afterward, I went online to research the impacts ingesting plastics could have on animals. I discovered that ingesting plastics may lead to nausea, spitting white foam, physical damage to the digestive system, and even death in severe circumstances. From that moment on, I realized that I could have killed an innocent sheep solely by my carelessness when feeding it. Powered by guilt, I reflected on the damage tourists in these zoological gardens that encourage interaction can have on animals and decided to write about this topic, discussing whether these projects should be supported in order to prevent similar events in the future and save precious lives. After abundant research and reflection, I firmly assert that zoological gardens that encourage interactions, which is the projects like the place I mentioned above, can conduct massive damages to animals and tourists. First and foremost, all zoological gardens deprive the nature of animals. As animals originate from natural environment, the nature of animals is deprived during the process of adapting to new life in human civilizations. In a highly restricted environment such as an artificial habitat, animals do not hunt and behave in the same way it does in the wild. Therefore, many of its abilities to survive deteriorates and eventually diminishes. Most importantly, being kept in certain areas for exhibition deprives the animal's right to remain free and move voluntarily. Although animals can still survive and have a stable state of life when living in an artificial environment, their animal natures and ability to survive in nature reduces, since it is unnecessary for the animals to practice these abilities when living in an artificial environment. It is not the animal's decision to live in an artificial environment and lose all its animal nature. Consequently, forcing animals to participate in zoological gardens is a way of depriving the nature of animals. In addition, this kind of zoological garden is detrimental to animal health. According to my story written above, there is a huge potential that tourists are novices in managing animals, like how my mom and I were incapable of preventing the sheep from ingesting the plastic handle. Tourists with limited knowledge about animal care may unintentionally injure the animals at such animal exhibition sites. Especially with the zoological gardens which encourage the feeding of animals, tourists can easily damage the animal's delicate digestive system by unfollowing the regulations when feeding them. Furthermore, it is not just tourists that harm the animals. In these organizations, the staff members will tie animals such as sheep and cows on trees with a rough rope. Also, due to the desire for food, the tied animals will follow the tourists around, thus circling on an object and forming knots on the rope they are tied to. The rope that restricts the movement of the animals can cause significant physical harm on the outside. Judging from the insane desire and reaction each animal has toward food, I am skeptical of the quality of the animal's diet. I surmise that the staff of the place only provides the animals with limited food to achieve the effect of animals wistfully looking at the food the tourists hold. Therefore, interactive zoological gardens can be detrimental to animal health. Finally, this kind of zoological garden contains potential danger for tourists. Altering the perspective, visiting a zoological garden with interactive animals can create latent danger for us tourists. For inexperienced tourists such as my mom and I, it is easy for us to unintentionally trigger the animals due to conducting actions that anger the animals obliviously. As a result, animals might initiate an attack, particularly the irritable and robust ones, which possibly leads to casualties. As I mentioned above, the zoological garden I went to encourages tourists to feed the animals food that the staffs give. I remember seeing many tourists scared of handing the food over to the animals due to the intense reactions animals have when they see food. Consequently, many tourists stood a small distance away from the animals and tried to feed them there. However, the majority of the time, the food was slightly further in the animals' reachable range, and the animals had to crush their bodies onto the fences to reach the food. Furthermore, certain children were so scared that they always removed the food the instant the animal reaches it. I was apprehensive that the animals might interpret this behavior as teasing and in any ways injure themselves or the tourists. If the animals get triggered, the tourists could be at risk of getting injured by the irate animal, thus being in danger. Zoological gardens that encourage interaction between tourists and animals can conduct great harm to both groups. This is due to how this kind of zoological garden deprives the nature of animals, is detrimental to animal health, and can contain potential danger for tourists.